Hello, I'm Gianna Monet, and we are here at the Global Esports Industry Week with some of the top leaders in esports. Today we are here with Britt Rivera, who is a talent agent at the company Evolved. Do you mind telling us how you got into esports?
Not at all. It's one of my favorite stories. It starts with love, like all great tales. Mm-hmm. I was working in Hollywood TV, film, and production, and met my now husband, who is an esports commentator and also a former pro. Oh, cool. Through meeting him, it was a pretty interesting first date. But through meeting him, I learned that a lot of his friends who were also similar in broadcasting experience, they were missing payments. Some people $50,000, $60,000 over the course. I know. I wish I could afford to miss $50,000, $60,000.
That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah, and I learned that it was actually a common occurrence in esports specifically. So in competitive gaming, paying people late, not paying them at all, and it turned out, this was 8 years ago. Things have improved, not all the way, but quite a bit. That it's actually a predatory environment. If you're not careful, you can miss payments, you can be treated poorly, and you can get into all sorts of situations that aren't great. So once I learned about that, I said, you know what, I'm going to help your friends recover some money because I'm already not sleeping. I'm working in Hollywood. Why don't I add more to my plate? And so I just started helping him and his friends. He didn't really have issues, but his friends did, recovering money. And it became kind of just a side hustle, except for I never charged anyone. In hindsight, no, I would never want to do that in this case. But I just decided that this is something I really want to pursue. And once COVID happened and the pandemic had kind of seen the worst of it, I realized, Hollywood's not kind of where it was. It's not really interesting to me anymore. We moved back to Texas, and I decided to work with some esports production talent on the back end and kind of started a small management company. And then the agency that I work for now, Evolved, reached out to me and said, hey, why don't you work with us? I was very suspicious of agencies at the time because I blamed them for a lot of the problems, and I still blame some of them for some of the problems. But Evolved is wonderful, and I'm so glad that I ended up working with them. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit more about Evolved and their contribution to the esports community? Oh,
absolutely. I love talking about Evolved. So Evolved is a legacy agency in esports. We've been involved for, I think, over 8-9 years in esports and gaming. Most of our staff is either deeply involved in gaming or they have an esports background. Our CEO has been involved in esports since the very beginning, and like myself, has a penchant for justice and has always wanted to make sure that esports players specifically are properly represented. And the agency just grew into what it is now, which is an agency that heavily represents some of the top streamers in gaming and also esports athletes. So we do work with esports athletes on their org contracts and other kinds of deals. But for the bulk of our business, we're really working with streamers to work on their sponsorships, their overall big picture, their apparel or merch, pretty much anything that helps them grow their business, we have our hands on.
That's nice. I love that you're so hands-on on the journey. You get to see people from the start and then towards the end, or not even the end, but just continuing their career and thriving in it. I think that's really cool. And another question that we have is, what is the biggest difference in how you approach building a long-term career path for a competitive esports professional versus a full-time content creator? And where do those strategies overlap?
I really appreciate this question. And I appreciate it because oftentimes brands and or the ecosystem in general will forget about the esports athlete once their time playing is finished. And that is common across the board in all elite sports. And so football, basketball, name the sport, when they're done playing, who? Right. So the way that we approach our practices for them is definitely different than streamers. So when we're dealing with an esports athlete, something that's important to note about the way that we operate as an agency is we do not oversaturate our roster. So we only pick up talent that we really think we can help, talent that we think has what it takes to build a full ecosystem for themselves, because they must have that drive or we can't actually help them. And we're very selective. So we are a boutique agency. I believe we have less than 20 employees. We keep it really tight, really focused. And so our roster is also really tight and really focused, which means that it's a lot of pressure on us to show up for our clients, but we love it because it really is our pleasure, and everyone at the agency really feels like this is our great pleasure and duty to serve our clients, which is really nice, which is why I love
Right,
Evolve.
it's why it's a company, you know?
Absolutely. And so when we're dealing with an esports athlete, what we're focusing on is one, what game are they entering, and do we think that it has longevity? And if so, then we're going to approach it with longevity in mind. And make sure that we're building out like the best possible contract that we can with whatever team org they're joining. Okay. With the hopes that they want to hold on to this athlete. Maybe they keep the whole roster. Maybe we have more than one player on any given team, and so sometimes we'll run into tricky situations where like maybe they want to swap out one of our players for someone else, and then we only have so it can get a little interesting. But at the end of the day, our purpose is really to create the best situation possible for the player and also the org, and helping them come together, work together, work on what contract makes sense for them. If they're also a streamer, then we'll work out any kind of like streaming deliverables that might add to the value of their contract. But our goal really is to send our players into their career knowing that they're focusing on competing, which is very different from how we approach streamers, because streamers are competing to build their stream. Right. But they're not competing in an elite sport. And so when you're competing in an elite sport, my opinion is focus on the sport. Let's talk about the stream as it makes sense, but you need to focus on being the absolute best because you're a competitor. And if you've met any competitors, you seem competitive, which is great. Me too. You want to be the best. And so they need to focus on that. When we're dealing with streamers, it can be anything. What's their goal? So some of them, maybe their goal is they really want to start a family, and they have like an age in mind, and they want to grow their stream as fast as possible, as big as possible, get as many sponsorships as possible, really build that ecosystem, and then kind of disappear. Which is one approach. And so, that's something that we can help facilitate. Maybe they're a streamer who really wants to focus on throwing events, which is a huge trend right now. So, let's figure out how to throw a big event, which we just did an amazing event with our marquee talent XQC, did an invitational for Marvel Rivals. And so really when it comes to the streamers, it's more about, it's so linear with the esports players. They want to be a pro for as long as possible, and then we'll see where that takes them. With the streamers, they can go in a million directions. They could end up opening their own agency after they're finished streaming. Maybe they open a fashion line. Maybe they stay in streaming. Maybe they get into broadcast. Who knows? It's really more about what is of interest to them at any given time, and us just really helping to like make the path as clean as possible, with as much support as possible.
Right. I think that's really cool, especially with like having a tighter network of people working on this. It's so hands-on, and that you get so involved that you're like, I'm building this story. We're finding out like, what do you want? And I love that it's like you're looking at who you're working with, and you're like, let's find who you are and let's bring that out to the forefront. So I think that's really cool.
I love that you call it a story. It feels that way. It really is. It's like the lore. That
the lore. That's a good one. Yeah.
To bring it back to gaming. And it's fun, because everybody does have like their own reason for doing it. And no creator is the same. So it's really cool. Every single day is different with them, and that's honestly just where 90% of the fun and headaches come from.
The nature of brand deals has evolved significantly. What is the most common mistake you see talent make when negotiating their own deals, and what makes a brand partnership truly authentic and successful in your eyes?
The biggest mistake they make is negotiating their own brand deals. Don't do it.
Right. Okay.
I am like so outspoken about this. The reason why I think for some talent, maybe they aren't big enough yet to hire a manager. That's fine. Right. If you can afford a lawyer, oh my gosh, how much do I repeat all the time? Please use a lawyer, use a lawyer, use a lawyer. This is the biggest mistake that the esports clients make, because they want to handle it on their own because they don't want to pay someone. But then that always costs, and it costs a lot more than it would have cost the lawyer. But I think in general, when you have creators doing their own brand deals, a lot of them, they do a pretty good job. It's really no fault of their own, but they're not expert negotiators. That's our expertise, and we also make sure that they're legally protected. Again, we work with our sister company, which is a law firm, so we have really good legal. And that's not always the case. And so I think when creators are doing deals on their own, I would say please tap every resource you have to check and make sure that legally you're not signing away your name, image, and likeness, or if you are, that you're getting paid enough to do it, or that the opportunity is such that you really feel like it's, valuable, but understand what's in your contract.
Right.
At least understand what's in there before you're signing it. And then I would also say, understand your value and understand the market. So doing the research, that could just be asking other streamers, hey, what are you doing? How are you negotiating?
Right,
Especially if you're smaller and you don't have a team, you need to be doing that research for yourself, which is really great because, the ecosystem, it's always up and down in the market. And so you don't want to oversell yourself in case, you're missing out on opportunities, but you also don't want to undersell yourself.
Finding that balance is very important.
Happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
So what makes a brand partnership very successful? It's the thing that we all know, which is a great pairing. Alignment between the creator and the brand is absolutely the most important thing. If you have someone selling a product that they don't believe in, it's going to read all over their faces. Their community is going to know. That's the thing about gaming. Our communities are really tight. So if you're out there selling, if you're like a chocolate milkshake girl and you're selling a strawberry milkshake, your audience can be like, why are you doing this?
Right.
This is bananas.
I love this 3 different flavors.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? All of them together, great milkshake flavor. But they'll know. And so that's really important. But I think also, the brand and the creator also understanding how they work together. It happens often. I've seen it in every ecosystem. And I think we've all seen this in business where maybe the idea is to come in as adversaries and you're just really negotiating hard. Why don't you just come together and talk about what's the most important thing to you? What's the most important thing to me? How can we come together to figure out how to make something work for both of us? It's, feel compromise thing. And I think when brands are really open to talking with creators about how they want to represent their brand, we see really amazing products happen. So I can give you an example. I work with the Botez sisters, and we were talking to Coach, the fashion brand, about working with them. And originally they wanted to work with Andrea, who's the younger sister. They're a famous chess playing duo of sisters. And they wanted someone to play chess against Andrea in their video. And they said, who do we have that we can play? Well, the obvious answer was her sister, Alexandra, who is also an elite level chess player, and they're branded together. And they really listened to Andrea and said, look, you can get anyone that's local to where we're shooting, because I shot out of state, but it's gonna be the best video if you use my sister. And it was, so I'm getting the chills, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my whole life. It was absolutely fantastic, and the chemistry was good. The film crew was texting me all day saying it was so great. And that's just a small example of a brand that was really willing to listen to the creator. And everybody won, and they had, I think, 3 videos in that campaign, and all of them outperformed the other videos on the Coach channel, except for the one with Elle Fanning. But that's fair enough.
I can see.
But it was beautiful, and when the brands listen to the creators and the creators honor the brands, it's the best.
It is very important, and I like that you mentioned the audience can tell when it's not authentic, or there's you're not fully in it. And so I think that is very important to bring that up and mention that it's something that everyone should try for, especially in this industry.
Absolutely.
So, and then on top of that note, what is something that you are looking for, or something that you see for the future of esports, with it growing as it is? What is something that you would hope to see in the future, or something that you want to put into the, community?
Well, what I want to continue to put in is just helping to make the space more ethical. I think certain game titles handle their esports ecosystems much better than they did in the past. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But I think a lot of tournament organizers and publishers really respect how the relationship between themselves and the players ought to work much more than ever before. And so I want to continue to help make the best possible contract for our players. I'm really proud of the contracts that our lawyers have put out. As an agent, I have a lot of input on, what I think this player needs. And then I'm working with the organization as well. And the organizations have been so good for the most part in really making sure that they're meeting us with what makes sense ethically for the player, and also in terms of just, the standard terms that are being put in there. So continuing to raise the standard in esports. I would say, let's get to a 10. I would say right now though, we're like a 7.15.
And
which is very good.
That's a great improvement.
It used to be like a chill 4.0, and it wasn't good times. So I'd love to continue to work on that path. In terms of esports as an ecosystem, I love esports, and I want these athletes, and I want the people who are passionate about competing and sharing competition and all of the beautiful things that come with fandom to be able to do this for a long time to come, which means we have got to figure out the monetization. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There is no shortage of the bag.
There is money out there.
There's bags all over the place. But it's about how do we get brands to really invest, and so it's we're not really in early stages anymore. Like we kind of are, but it's been about a decade.
Yeah.
So I would love to see brands getting more involved in co-streams, maybe in a way that benefits the mainstream itself, but also the creator. And so I just hosted a roundtable and was talking about the idea about maybe brands working with specific co-streamers so that they can get all of the juicy deliverables that they have on the mainstream, but that they're also paying for the creators to do it, which would allow for the main broadcast to upsell their full package with that brand, because they can guarantee the views, they can guarantee that all of the deliverables are being hit. I haven't seen that done yet, and I would really like to see that done. I think it's a way that we could heavily monetize in this industry.
There's a lot, I'm telling you, money is everywhere. It's everywhere. And so
it is.
I think that is something I would look forward to seeing like in the future. And then one last question.
Sure.
It's not left field. It makes sense with the topic, but do you have a favorite game or a game that impacted you in any way?
Oh my gosh, so many games have impacted me. But I think Counter-Strike it will make me emotional because it's the game that that I fell in love with my husband during. So much of our relationship was he's a commentator, and I am biased, but he is, one of the best in the world. And so I've been watching someone really live out his passion and grow his own craft and take it so seriously. I'd always loved gaming, but I wasn't into esports yet. And so learning to love esports while learning to love someone has been really special. And that's Counter-Strike. And Counter-Strike, a Counter-Strike match. Are you going to the matches?
I'm not.
They are magic. So now I'm going to give you a mad case of FOMO. But the way that Counter-Strike is done, I mean, the fans they're wild, they're unpredictable, but in all the best way. And there's something about seeing just like 50,000 gaming nerds coming together. And like, they're walking on stage like they're rock stars, and the smoke is everywhere. And I filmed a lot of music videos. This is way cooler because these are nerds. And there's pyrotechnics. It's just the coolest, right? And Blast is so amazing, the people hosting this one, because they've really innovated like in the way that they mesh like traditional sports norms with esports. So they like one year they had cheerleaders. It was really cool. I know, it was really cool.
Okay.
So Counter-Strike is really special to me because it is the game that beyond my husband, who's like great, wonderful. It's the game that really sold to me that like esports is special. And I was never into traditional sports, but I am like obsessed with learning a player's storyline. I am obsessed with how their family supports them. There's so many amazing stories, and it's regional too. I mean, you have so many players from different regions who have different reasons for getting into esports, and many of them are because they had to bring it in for the family. And there's some amazing stories. Rops is a great example of someone who, look up his story later, but, suffered a family tragedy and continued to play and is, one of the best players in the world and really brought it home for the family. And I think that's really cool. So I love that. And I love Valorant. I have a player, I have 2 players in the professional Valorant scene. I think it's a beautiful game. It's also a first person shooter. The events are really fun, really involved. The casual gaming is different than that audience is I think it's more of an accessible game for casual gamers, which is really smart. Riot knows what they're doing when they're making They have the plan. And I love that esport as well.
I love those answers. I have not played Valorant, so I'm going to tap into that one for sure as well. But
I don't recommend starting with Counter-Strike.
Really?
It's scary in there.
Okay, it's scary. okay.
It's a different kind of lobby.
Okay, I'll get to that last.
Yeah,
but those were all our questions. I appreciate you coming in, answering them, and we hope to see you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you.
Yes, enjoy the lobby.